We are live, James. You're cropped. You've lost the top of your head. You're going to have to squat all the
Yes.
entire show. Do you know that's really good for your thigh muscles? That's really good.
That's what I
exercise.
need to do. That's great. I'm going to be squatting for the duration. Here we go. There we go. I'll put it back up again.
It's
How are
your
you
hair's
doing,
got
Maria?
big. Your hair's got big.
Yes.
I'm good. Thank you very much. I can't believe it's Thursday again. Can you believe it?
I know. It's incredible. It's incredible. And we've had some very good weather where we are just now in the UK, or at least we have up here. I don't know in London what it's been like for you.
No, we've had your Scottish weather actually for several days. We've had so much rain. It's been ridiculous. So we were joking about it, Midsummer's Day, this week, and it was like midwinter. Anyway, let's not talk about the weather because I mean it's very boring and very British. We're being international today, aren't we?
We are. We're flying someone in, especially for this episode of Speaking Business TV. Today, amazing. We are joined by Joshua Seth. Joshua Seth is a celebrity voice actor and world touring magician turned entertaining keynote speaker. Joshua is known to millions as the voice of over 100 animated TV shows and movies and can be heard in everything from Akira to SpongeBob SquarePants. As a headline entertainer, Joshua toured the world for over a decade with his highly successful show, Psychological Illusions. He's performed live on stage in over 40 countries, had 5 TV specials in South Korea and Japan, and presented in front of 20,000 people at the Mandalay Bay Arena in Las Vegas. He's also the author of 3 books, including the best-selling peak performance book, Finding Focus in a Changing World. But he's best known as the star of Digimon, voicing the main character Tai for the past 20 years in the hit TV series, as well as all 8 movies, helping it become one of the top 100 highest grossing media franchises in the world. These days, Joshua shows leaders how to speak with influence and communicate with confidence so they can make a bigger impact on the world. It's my great pleasure today to welcome Joshua Seth.
What an intro. I couldn't have written that better myself.
Fantastic, Joshua. Joshua, it's absolutely wonderful to have you here all the way over from the US of A. Thank you for joining us. So yes, what an intro. And actually, this show is for speakers. So they're all going to be saying, well, hang on a minute. What can I learn from a voice actor? What can speakers learn from voice actors?
Yeah, that is an excellent question. And if I weren't the one doing the speaking, I would wonder it myself. So here's the big takeaway. Voice acting is acting. It's a very rarefied form of acting where you don't get the benefit of body language and all the nuances that come along with it. You have to put all of that emotion and communicational connection just through the instrument that is your voice, right? How is that different from speaking, especially when you're on camera in a virtual world where you're a talking head and most of your body language is outside of the frame? The primary way that we are connecting with our audiences is through the quality and the connection of our voices. And voice actors are masters of that, the dynamic speaking, in other words.
That's fantastic. That's brilliant. So you're absolutely true. The voice is so important. Do you think speakers don't take care of their voices enough?
I think most people don't really think in terms of taking care of your voice because it emanates from inside of you. And although it is a muscle that is connected to the rest of your body, we go to the gym to work out, those big muscles, your pecs, your deltoids, and other things that I know the words for but don't know where they are. But we don't think in terms of taking care of these little delicate vocal folds on the inside. When I was in high school, I loved being in choir, and my choir teacher had vocal nodes taken out, and it impressed upon me at an early age how important it is to take care of your voice, because that's your moneymaker as a speaker, but also as a salesperson, as a leader. How effective would you be if you lost your voice, if you trained your voice? Years later, when I was a voice actor, before I learned the sorts of exercises that I show my clients in my keynotes, I would strain my voice doing video games. I remember doing the Lord of the Rings video games where I played, I think his name was Gimli. Yeah, he's a bearded, curmudgeonly dwarf. My axe like this, to battle. Imagine doing that for 4-hour recording sessions. It was ripping up my voice, and I had to learn ways around it to make my voice cut through, punch through, come across well without ripping it up. And we've all experienced that to various degrees. But if you've ever gotten to the point where your voice sounds very thin or hoarse, or you lose it, and especially if you're a speaker, you're out of work essentially. So it is extremely fundamentally important that you learn to take care of it well.
So Joshua, can you maybe share maybe just one of those tips that can help people become more dynamic speakers, to help to look after this little money machine that we have here? Or maybe I'm actually holding it here, but maybe I should be here. I'm not sure. Or should I be where? I don't know.
Because your wife's a singer, so I'm sure that you have you've already had some insights into these sorts of things. But yes, you're right. The diaphragmatic breathing would be part of it. But that's the little inside the weeds. I'll give you just, let's say, two tips for the price of one. The first thing you can do is hydrate. That's the best thing you can do for your voice, is cut out, there we go, is cut out every liquid other than water, basically, which I know people don't like to hear. What about tea? No, tea's diuretic. It's going to dehydrate you and make you need to go to the bathroom in the middle of a gig. Water. What about lemon? No, it's going to tighten up your throat. And room temperature water too. Not cold, not ice cold water that's going to constrict your vocal cords.
No wine.
No. I have 1 cup of coffee black in the morning and water all day, and I hardly drink. And that's because since I was 8 years old doing 8 shows a week in professional musical theater, which I did for 10 years, to then spending a dozen years as a voice actor, being in recording studios every day, to then going on tour and being on stage for another 10 years, I guess, like holding a mic in front of an audience, to now doing these virtual presentations. This is my instrument through which everything else emanates. And like the best thing you can do to take care of it is to hydrate well with room temperature water all day long, to the point where it's annoying if you're not accustomed to it.
Okay. Let me feel a bit thirsty just now as well. So I know whenever I talk with my wife, and I, as you mentioned, she's jazz singer, and we have this discussion about like kind of looking after her voice. Hydration is the one she always mentions. Like even in the shower in the morning, it's great to kind of do like vocal warm-ups in the shower, because it's like the hydration in the ear as well. But she said the one that's often really overlooked, she feels, is sleep. It's just getting enough rest. Like that thing of like when, Joshua, when you and I, we usually we're doing all those kind of flights usually, and we get somewhere, we've had that overnight, that red eye flight, and we arrive somewhere and we're kind of a little bit, tired. So how do you look after yourself, in terms of just kind of staying kind of healthy? And also now with virtual, obviously most of your presentations, I think just now, are virtual. Has that changed? Has that improved?
It's been easier because I don't have that element of travel, but it's the same with everything in life. It's sleep, diet, exercise, emotional intelligence, so you don't stress about things that you can't change, and you can let go of anything happening in your personal life the moment the camera turns on or the curtain opens. And when I'm traveling, I guess the tip that I could share is that I learned early on from doing a lot of international travel as a headline entertainer. This was before I was a speaker, but I would fly to these other countries to open or close a conference. And the main thing I learned was this doesn't specifically relate to the voice, but it does relate to not having jet lag, which is you stay up until the time that it would be appropriate to go to sleep in the new time zone. That's the best tip, because even though it's rough initially when you get there, if you're flying from, say, LA to Singapore, which I flew from, where did I fly from? Jamaica to Singapore. I think that was a long couple of flights. You stay up until that time at which it would be appropriate to sleep in the new time zone. And then the next morning, you're, as you would say, bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, right?
Absolutely.
Yes. And then you can rest
But you must be, because this is the thing, I'm speaking to a lot of speakers just now, they're experiencing this as well, where we don't have the jet lag, we have the kind of Zoom lag, where you're maybe having to give a presentation at, say, 11 a.m. your time, and then you give it maybe another one have to give one at 5 o'clock, and then sometimes like I did one last week, it was at 3:30 in the morning because it was for a client in China. Now you would never do that in the old world when you were traveling because you couldn't get to all those places. So how have you coped? Because you're based on the East Coast of the US, but I know you have clients in Asia, you have clients all over the place. How are you dealing with those kind of late night gigs?
You're seeing it right now. I had to wake up really early to do this because of the time difference, and I was doing a virtual keynote just last night. So I enjoy power naps. I have no problem with that. I have programmed into my Alexa.
All the Alexas are going to go on now.
From last night. I have programmed in sleep sounds that trigger me to go to sleep like in 3 seconds when I hear them, and I have something similar on my phone as well. And I just take those 20-minute power naps pretty much every day when necessary. That definitely helps. And having a trigger, like because I'm so auditory, for me, it's a sound trigger, will help put me to sleep very quickly. I used to tour as a hypnotist, so I'm very familiar with the dynamic that's created through focused relaxation, which is the technical definition for hypnosis. It's focused relaxation.
You have that technique. I think I only ever did one hypnotist. I was learning a long time ago, learning some basic kind of like things like NLP, which some of it kind of comes from kind of hypnotism. And I remember learning how to hypnonize a rabbit. That was my one thing that I managed to do.
That's
very useful.
Or a
very
chicken.
useful. Every day.
Totally useful. So Maria, are you a power napper, Maria?
Do you know, I'm the worst sleeper ever. So I'm interested to hear about these triggers. Yeah, I'm bad. So I'm interested about these triggers and interested to try and find a power nap. And the problem I've got at the moment, which James knows and my personal friends know, I've got a dog who's rather old. And because he's got a heart condition, he coughs a lot and he gets stressed out at night. So he wakes me up and he wants to move about because he can't breathe. So it's affecting my sleep. So I need to learn to power nap. But my problem with a power nap, a 20-minute power nap, it will take me an hour to get to sleep with a 20-minute power nap. So I need to learn about these triggers. So I might have to talk to you offline. But coming back to these things,
all these things are so simple, though. I wish I had some great deep insight to share with you that nobody's ever heard before. Everybody knows what to do. It's just like with diet. Everybody knows what to do, right? You cut out the dairy, the sugar, the wheat, the red meat, and so forth. You lose weight. It's a formula. It's math. You burn more clean burning fuel, and the formula ends up burning more than you're taking in. You're losing weight. Like there's nothing complicated. It's just that people don't want to do it. So it's the same thing with sleep. Quiet your mind the last 3 hours of the day. Don't eat anything. Don't look at any blue screens. Read a book. Just like with my children when they were babies and we were sleep training them. We do the same thing for ourselves as adults. You create a schedule, a routine. You start a process, and then by the time you get to sleep, you put on. When they were babies, I would put on these sort of like whale sounds, like the sounds of the whales in the ocean. It's an adult version of that I'm just doing for myself because we're all little children inside, aren't we?
I feel I've been told off, James.
So no, Maria, I'm going to schedule now every time at 8 p.m. I'm going to call you and make whale noises over the phone to you. That's my new daily routine.
Coming back to the voice. I think you were going to give us two tips.
It's a discipline, right? It's a discipline. That's all it is. There's no magic to it. There's no big secret or anything. It's just a matter of being disciplined enough and loving yourself enough to do what is necessary.
I need to love myself.
Turn off your brain. For those of us that are high achievers and think a lot. Okay, this is another thing too. When I said I was going to give you a 2-for-1 tip earlier,
Thank you.
The second one to keep the open loop going.
I did notice you were doing that. You were opening and closing a loop there to keep us interested.
That's Ericksonian hypnosis. So the second one is to learn deep breathing techniques, because that will ground and place your voice appropriately. I talk about that a lot in my keynote because it was the main struggle I had being taken seriously as an adult in those early years was I sounded like one of my cartoon characters. I basically was placing it up here all the time. And to learn to place my voice correctly required learning to do breathing exercises. Mm-hmm. Those same breathing exercises can help you get to sleep as well, because they'll slow you down, make you more present, change the energy that you're putting out by changing your breath. Everything starts and ends in life and in your day with the breath, the quality of your breath.
Wonderful, wonderful. We've got Tom Morley with us. Thank you for joining us. And he's saying that during COVID, we redecorated our bedroom like a tour bus. Consequently, whenever we get up, we're ready to go on stage day or night. I love that.
I love that.
That's so fun. I bet he did as well. I really bet he did.
I do something similar even prior to COVID. I like to decorate my home like I'm in a resort. So like I'm in a nice hotel, in other words. Like I did this very purposefully years ago so that when I was on tour in a hotel, I'd feel like I was home.
Oh, that's wonderful. Actually, our bedroom is so beautiful. It's like a luxury hotel bedroom. So when people say to us, why don't you go away for a weekend? I say, why would I do that? I've got the best house, best bedroom. Anyway, we digress. So I want to know about magic as well. You've actually inserted magic into your keynotes and you use them virtually. Listen, if you're doing it virtually, surely you can cheat.
You cheat on stage. I got news for you.
Oh, is it not really magic? Are you going to shatter my illusion?
And there's no Santa Claus. Spoiler!
Oh my gosh, we're going to have to put a spoiler alert out for this show. Talk to me about how you've managed to make magic work virtually.
Sure. Well, everybody wants more engagement and interaction online, right? That's the main thing that meeting planners say that they are missing from the Zoom or the online presentation experience relative to in person. I've seen the statistics for Meeting Planners International, and it's far and away the main concern is engagement. So the more we can stack skills to create engagement, the better. So one such skill would be the ability to do Q&A, for instance, which I love doing at the end of my keynotes. I know some people don't like them because of the lack of control, but I like it for the same reason I like jazz. You know, you don't know, you got a theme and you're going to move around and you don't know exactly where things are going to land. It'll all work out in the end. So there's polls that you can put in there asking questions. I have people put things into the chat to respond at one particular point instead of a poll, just to mix things up. And then on my stream deck here, I have a button where suddenly it splits the screen and you can see this chat. And then they know it's live and not pre-recorded, right? Mm-hmm. And there's other things, exercises, different things that I do like that to help them to know that I can see them just like if they were a real audience. We can interact with one another. And magic's just another way, a more unique way perhaps, in which we can do that. So the point is not to blow them away with the magic, although hopefully it will have that effect. The point is really to illustrate visually the point that the point is the point. The point is to illustrate visually the concept that I just explained verbally, so that it will really make an impression and take hold in their memories by creating a unique experience and an emotionally charged experience. And it has this additional benefit of being interactive because I can pull people on screen to do that with me. And I created all new routines, as did most of my magician friends that were able to pivot and make it through this pandemic, some of whom have done far better virtually than they ever did in person. Most of us just came up with new material that worked very well for the camera, sort of like TV magic.
Fantastic.
The point is to use it in a capacity that makes sense for a keynote, you know, not break out of the keynote and say, and now we're going to do a show.
Oh, yeah.
No, it's to weave it, it's to connect it together. So if I'm talking about the purpose of communication is to make a connection is one of my points, right? Like, why are you saying the things that you're saying? It's to get buy-in from the other person, or is to create an empathetic response, whatever that emotional connection is, that's the underlying purpose underneath and behind the words that you're saying. And then I'll do a trick or a magic routine about connection that creates a connection, and that changes the way the audience will remember the message, because it won't just be another lecture being talked to, being spoken at, but something in which they participated and had an experience with. It's just so much more powerful on stage and virtual. It requires different routining to make it work.
Brilliant. Well done. And you're absolutely right. Everybody wants much more engagement. It's so important. So if you've achieved that by using magic, which makes it fun too. And the point about making it very much related to the topic and not making it sort of like jar, because I hate it when people hook magic or do things or activities and you think, well, what's this got to do with what the topic is? So well done for that too.
May I show you something here?
Yes, I was hoping you might.
Well, because it relates to how I'm doing this. So here, this is from my second screen here. So that's a reverse angle on what you're seeing right now, but that was from my gig last night. And what I'm able to do is I have this standing desk here, and that desk would normally be the table upstage in a live event. So I have my props on there, or I have a little stand that I can bring in behind me as well. So I've got props, I've got the stream deck, I got the slides on my phone, which is what you see sort of next to my hand. I'm just tapping that to move slides around. I've got Ecamm running on. Normally I wouldn't show this, but you said this is all for speakers, right? So yes. How am I doing all these things I just talked about, bringing in slides and doing polls and responding to people in real time? You see that's a big TV on the right there, that I'll have the gallery view there so that I can literally see it just simply by glancing to the right of the teleprompter. I can see them, I can read their names clearly, and I'll break in and out of the script. I have a foot pedal, the air turn right here, so I can just stop the script for a moment and I'll say, Jessica, yeah, I see you nodding on that last point there. Would you guys just raise your hand if you agree with Jessica that that's a good idea? And this is suddenly really live. Because otherwise, I always wonder, for the speakers that are just delivering a canned presentation, a scripted presentation, why aren't they just watching it on YouTube where they can speed it up? What is even the purpose of doing this if you're not going to have that kind of engagement? So that's why I have the gallery view on the big screen to the right. I've got my teleprompter that I go in and out of using. I don't use it straight through like that. Again, I keep it more improvisational, but it's there, so I have a framework to go by. Then I've got Ecamm on my main computer, which is the production software, and then to the left, that hadn't started yet, so you're not seeing it, but I actually have the image that they are seeing, the pinned speaker view over there, just so I can glance over and make sure that what I think they're seeing, they're actually seeing. Then I've got a backup mic, which is this mic, which you see to the right of the frame, in case my lapel goes out. I also bring it in to tell jokes. So whenever I tell a joke, here, I'll switch to this. I switch to this background. This is not functional right now, but I bring it in to give that sort of comedy club idea, and then I can pull in, a rim shot, applause, like carts in a radio station. I'm pulling in the sound effects and things. And so I'm bringing all the technology together in support of the dynamic, engaging, entertaining qualities that I want to be a part of my presentation, to elevate it above just the mere transmission of information. Because if all we're doing as speakers is transmitting information, the value is negligible, because information is ubiquitous and free now. Why are they hearing it from us? Hopefully we're a good messenger for that message, and we will create an emotional connection through engagement with the audience, so that there was a reason for us to be doing this live, even if it's virtual.
So what I'm hearing there, I'm hearing what you've kind of built, especially with your keynote speaking. You kind of got the message there, you've got the kind of technology side, you've got the storytelling side, and you kind of got this entertainment side that you've had as a core part of like who you are as well. I've noticed is you've also taken that bundle, that collection of talents, of capabilities that you've developed over the years, and you've moved it into also, as well as using it for virtual keynote, you've actually been doing a lot of virtual MC work this past year. Now that we're starting to see things really start to open up again, where do you see the virtual MC thing going? I'd love to know just a little bit your journey of that world from virtual MC, because I know it's a big trend we're seeing just now.
Yes, so I am blown away by virtual MC work because it's become a very big component of my business that wasn't even on my radar until you brought it to my attention. So thank you. Last year. And the first MC gig that I did this year was hybrid. So I actually went to a TV production studio in Los Angeles. That day turned into all 3 days of the conference because the first day went so well, the clients decided, well, he should be the face of the conference. And what is a virtual MC for those that don't know? It's the piece that interconnects all the elements of their online event. So if there are different speakers, sometimes these speakers aren't professionals, sometimes they're part of management or the C-suite in the company. I can interview them. I can facilitate a Q&A. I can curate questions coming in from people. I can also smooth things out when there are technical difficulties. There was another gig that I did where the whole thing went down. And I was in a studio, again, where I had connection to the people that were running the event. And I said, just tell me when I'm back. Even though it was going to take them time to get the speakers back into the waiting room and so forth. The audience was still there. It was that the speakers were all gone. You understand what I'm saying? They all had to dial in and make that connection again, and make sure that the mics worked. They had to do this whole behind the scenes process that took 5 or 10 minutes. So just tell me when when I'm back, and then tell me in my ear again when they are ready. Yeah. We had a great time. I believe in honesty and transparency. I talk to the audience about emotional intelligence, right? How do we keep our cool and remain unflappable when things that are outside of our control conspire to destroy everything we have worked so hard to create, which is what just occurred. And then we have a conversation. People are texting me with experiences they have had. We're creating empathy. It's a gift. It can be a gift. And I had some magic in my back pocket to do something fun. Anyway, I felt like that was the moment where I earned my check for that gig, because they told me afterwards they didn't have a single person leave. Everybody stayed. And I'll bet that's the piece that they remembered the most, honestly. And it represented the brand well, the brand that I was representing, in other words, because every company wants to have great customer service. Every company wants to be your trusted source for such and such. What better way to demonstrate that than when under pressure? And so that's what a virtual MC can do. And now that when I'm doing this not virtually from my home studio, there's a green screen behind me. And I know because I got the little fuzziness.
We worked that out. But there was no fuzziness. There's no fuzziness at all.
No, I do it on purpose, where we've got the depth of field, the shallow depth of field, because I could make that look sharper, but we want it to look deep. So I changed that for the virtual MC work. I bring in a little desk behind me. I sit down at it, and then I have a different mic set up on the desk, so it looks like the Tonight Show or something. And I've got the Stream Deck on that desk and a different camera. So I'm really at a distance from the camera. I'm way back like this in a position where I can interview people, because that's what we're used to seeing our whole lives, is somebody sitting at a desk with a microphone on the desk and a mug, and hopefully from the client, and interviewing people. So I felt like, as a virtual MC from my home studio, from my spare bedroom, essentially here, I would approximate that, and it works out really well. Plus, it's just fun. It's just more fun that way than everybody being right up in front of the camera like that all the time in this little box.
But it'll be interesting as we're starting to obviously see events, live in-person events happening again, and we're taking a lot of those learnings from virtual and moving them into live. And basically, every client I'm speaking to, whether it's as a keynote or virtual emceeing like yourself, for these live events, they're basically hybrid. They're hybrid now. So I thought that's really interesting, because someone like you that has this skill of being able to do, you've done in person, you've made that pivot really well, that horrible word pivot, to virtual, but now you're starting to do this work with the hybrid, where you have a live audience in front of you, plus you have those people that are joining from around the world. Anything you've noticed about how you're communicating, or how you're using your body, or any kind of craft things, specifically as it relates to hybrid? Because this is quite a new thing for many speakers now.
I guess for me, it's not new, because even when I was voicing a movie, let's say out in Hollywood, there'd be a camera crew for the attendant documentary or the bonus interviews on the DV, there'd always be cameras stuck in my face. I do a different version of my keynote that's just on virtual communication skills. It's just how to show up well in this environment, the kind of stuff that we're talking about, honestly, but for professional people who don't do this for a living. And I say, I've been doing this for 20 years. For me, this is very normal. What wouldn't be normal would be going to a gig, talking at an audience, and then leaving and having nothing to show for it but a check and some nice comments. Of course, you should create some assets that can live on after the experience. So sometimes even prior to the pandemic, I would be at a conference, for instance, and just because of my personality, let's say I'm the keynoter that's going to open the conference, I'd go talk to the camera crew that's going to document the event. I'd say, let's go do some man on the street interviews. And just go around it. I would just do that. I would just add it on because I'm there anyway and I want to interact and have some fun. But it's also creating something that will live on after the event and will help them to get more attendees to come to next year's conference because they'll see what they missed. And you're right, I believe, that everything is going to be hybrid like this in the future. And it's great for us because we're creating more value for the clients. If we could do a training prior to the keynote ahead of time like this, and then follow it up with a Q&A, like I've been offering to do Q&As sometimes a month later after people have had a chance to digest the information or potentially go through. The idea originally was I have a 30-day follow-up training. So they don't necessarily have to get the training, but for those that choose to do so, I'll do that live Q&A a month later. Maybe I won't always do that because it creates an additional time commitment, but right now anyway, it's okay. We have so much flexibility. It's right here. You don't have to jump on a plane and take days in order to travel. So why not? Why not continue to elevate the value of what it is that we are giving our clients, whether we're in person or virtual? We could still create digital assets. And I think that's the main change. It's a mindset shift. Those opportunities were always there, but maybe speakers didn't think to take advantage of them because we conceived of our role as simply that hour on the stage, as opposed to everything else that we can create with a microphone and a camera, which we all have now, even in the form of our phones.
Talking about adding value and kind of digital assets, you've kindly agreed to give everyone a free copy. You have a best-selling book called Finding Focus in a Changing World. If people want to go to joshuaseth.com/free, you're also going to get access to a video training designed to help you speak with influence and communicate with confidence when giving your own presentation. So just head over. That's wonderful. Joshua's showing it now. Just go to joshuaseth.com/free for that amazing free tool. So
I'm going to grab one of those. I'm going to grab one of those, Josh. I want the free training too. Fantastic. Just want to make one of the comments that Tom made earlier when you were showing us behind the scenes, and I think it's a really valid comment. He said that anyone can buy the tech. The real magic is being able to use it and to use it live, and that's what you've honed. That's what you do very, very well, because not everybody can. I know I get in a right mess. So it's so well done on honing that.
Thank you for that, and I would agree. And if I may offer one last tip as we're winding up here, there's one other aspect beyond simply learning to use the tech. It's just being comfortable on camera, being comfortable to let people see who you are. There was a definition of intimacy I heard once, which is into me you see.
Oh,
that's intimacy. I didn't make that up. Into me you see. So that's what we have to allow our audience to see through the camera. And that's why I don't worry so much if there's a technical screw up or I say an and or an when I'm supposed to be this skillful master of communication and I use it. Who cares, right? What is really important is that you allow people to see your essence and who you really are. And when you could do that, the camera will become flattering to you because that's attractive, right? Honesty and authenticity is an attractive quality. And what happens a lot is people get self-conscious. They get stuck in their own heads. They're not comfortable with it. They worry too much about how they're going to come across, sound, and look. So it's really comes. You could have far less equipment that I have. You could simply have. This is a $20 microphone. I have a $400 microphone. I think this sounds just as good.
Sounds brilliant.
you could have your phone and a $20 microphone and none of this other tech. But if you would just relax and be comfortable letting people see who you are, you'll come across great on camera. And that's really the key. Even beyond the technical mastery is a comfort level, being comfortable with yourself.
Well, Joshua, it's wonderful having you join us, and it's been great watching you. I know we first met each other probably just over a year ago, and you became a Speakers U member, and it's been fantastic. I keep holding you up as a perfect example of a speaker who not just does the training and gets to coaching, but actually implements. You're one of the best I've seen in terms of actually learning something and then implementing it like really quickly. I was always amazed. Like, you would watch one of our trainings and then like 2 days later you say, hey, I've just created it. This is the result I'm getting. So great to see you actually doing it.
Concept.
Yeah.
Like that book. I wrote a book on focus, for God's sake, right? It's the one thing. What's your one thing? If speaking is your one thing, then implement, right? One thing that moves your business forward every day. And Speakers U has been great for me. I know you're not looking for an endorsement, but it's great for me, especially during the pandemic, because it gave me something actionable to do each day. So even when inquiries weren't coming in, and there were months there where I wasn't working a lot in terms of gigs, but I was working a lot in terms of creating intellectual property and implementing the lessons in Speakers U. So I definitely endorse that.
Well, you're definitely reaping the benefits of them now, so it's wonderful to see as well. So Joshua, Seth, thank you so much for joining us. We're going to have links so you can check out, we'll put that free resource link and also for Joshua's website. Just go to speakingbusiness.tv and you can just enter your details there and you can find that link as well. Joshua, thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you. It's been fantastic.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
And I think